Assalamu alaikum and welcome to TMJ News' live stream special covering the Israeli attack on Iran, which just took place a few hours ago. The dozens of strikes started early Friday morning, Iranian local time, in which is the dozens of strikes started early Friday morning, Iranian local time, in what Israel called preemptive strikes on Iran's nuclear program, accusing Tehran of running a secret program to build a nuclear bomb. So let's take a look at Netanyahu's statement right here. Netanyahu said that moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. At least 5 civilians are reported dead in Iran so far, the first of which was a child. Let's take a look at that. So these numbers are expected to significantly rise as we are seeing footage of burning residential buildings in multiple complexes in Tehran.
فرحزاده پایین یه ساختمان مسکونی زده شده.
Blasts were heard in the capital, Tehran, around 3 a.m. local time. Several other cities were also targeted, including Isfahan, Arakermanshah, and Tabriz, near a nuclear research center and 2 military bases, as you can see here on the map. If you take a look in Natanz, Israel struck Iran's main enrichment facility. So, Iranian state TV has officially reported that Israel has struck the Revolutionary Guard's headquarters in Tehran, killing the commander, Hossein Salami, and several other high-ranking officials were also killed, including General Ghulam Ali Rashid, the deputy commander of the Iranian armed forces, Muhammad Mahdi Tehranji, an Iranian physicist, and Fareydun Abbasi, an Iranian nuclear scientist. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in a statement read on state television and said that Israel should anticipate a harsh punishment, and the strong hand of the Islamic Republic will not let them go. Now, on the U.S. side, we are seeing American leadership say the U.S. was not involved in Israel's strikes and that it was unilateral action, as Secretary of State Marco Rubio had said. It will be interesting to see how America's position here develops, as we know that the U.S. is in the middle of nuclear negotiations with Iran currently, and the next round, the 6th, was set to take place in Oman this upcoming Sunday. But we also know that the U.S. will not go against Israel's wishes, especially as it relates to Iran, which is a shared enemy for them. But what we do know, however, is that the U.S. has previously helped defend Israel from Iranian attacks, and it is likely to do so again when Iran responds. Iran's foreign ministry says that Tehran has a legal and legitimate right to respond to Israeli attacks under the UN Charter. The ministry said in a statement that the dangerous and far-reaching effects and consequences of the Zionist regime's aggression against our beloved homeland of Iran will be the responsibility of this regime and its supporters. The Zionist regime's aggressive actions, this is a continuation of the ministry's statement. The Zionist regime's aggressive actions against Iran cannot have been carried out without the coordination and authorization of the United States. Accordingly, the United States government, as the main supporter of this regime, will also be responsible for the dangerous effects and consequences of the Zionist regime's adventure. So for those of you who have just joined, this live stream is covering the Israeli attack on Iran, which just took place a few hours ago. The dozens of strikes started early Friday morning, Iranian local time, in what Israel had called a preemptive strikes on Iran's nuclear program. They accused Tehran of running a secret program to build a nuclear bomb. We took a look at Netanyahu's statement, which we can pull up again. And in his statement, he had said moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. We also saw that there were at least 5 civilians that were reported dead in Iran so far. The first and then we took a look at the residential buildings that were burning in multiple complexes in Tehran, and we expect the numbers of the reported deaths to increase significantly.
ساعت الان 3:37 ورودی فرحزاده پایین یه ساختمون مسکونی زده شده.
And then blasts were heard in the capital, Tehran, around 3 a.m. local time. There were several other cities that were targeted. We can bring them up on the map. One of them was near a nuclear research center and 2 military bases. Israel also struck Iran's main enrichment facility. So Iranian state TV had officially reported that Israel has struck the Revolutionary Guard's headquarters in Tehran, killing the commander, Hossein Salami, and several other high-ranking officials that were also killed, including General Ghulam Ali Rashid and the deputy commander of the Iranian armed forces, Mohammad Mehdi Tehranji, an Iranian physicist, and Faridun Abbasi, an Iranian nuclear scientist. We have some updates. Israel has said that it targeted Iran's nuclear facilities, ballistic missile factories, and military commanders on Friday at the start of what it warned would be a prolonged operation to prevent Tehran from building an atomic weapon. Now we're just bringing you the updates as they come. So bear with us if there's any time that we pause. We're just bringing up the most up-to-date events. Iranian media and witnesses reported explosions, including at the country's main uranium enrichment facility in Natanz, while Israel declared a state of emergency in anticipation of retaliatory missile and drone strikes. Now, Iran's foreign ministry is now calling on countries around the world to condemn the attacks by Israel. And the foreign ministry says the attack exposes global security to unprecedented threat. We're still waiting to see when and how Iran will respond. We know from previous instances that Iran will respond decisively, especially now that several of its top ranking officials have been confirmed killed. We are getting the latest news up now. So this just in, Iranian TV is saying that within the next few hours, Israel will witness Iranian fire. So it does seem that Iran will be responding very quickly. So I'm just going to go through and repeat the latest updates. So Israel had said that it targeted Iran's nuclear facilities, ballistic missile factories, and military commanders on Friday at the start of what it warned would be a prolonged operation to prevent Tehran from building an atomic weapon. Iranian media and witnesses reported the explosions, including at the country's main uranium enrichment facility in Natanz, while Israel declared a state of emergency in anticipation of retaliatory missile and drone strikes, which we now know that Iran is saying that within the next few hours, Israel will witness Iranian fire. Now, here on the US side, the United States was not part of the operation and was not involved in intelligence sharing. Secretary Rubio stated Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self defense. Rubio also added Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. So it seems that the U.S. now is playing it safe so far. President Trump is convening in a National Security Council meeting in the Situation Room on Friday, the White House had said. And the U.S. Embassy in Israel told government employees and their families to shelter in place until further notice, amid the threat of a retaliatory strike by Iran. These strikes came as the Trump administration has been seeking to negotiate an agreement with Iran's government to limit the country's nuclear program. Trump had said that Iran cannot be allowed to enrich uranium, but Iran is unwilling to accept those terms. Now, the US and Iran are still expected to hold talks on Sunday. That is about 2 days from now, maybe a little less. Steve Witkoff, the president's Mideast envoy, was planning to hold a sixth round of talks in Oman over the weekend. And we have to see now whether that will be affected by the recent Israeli attack. So this is all coming at a very sensitive time period. Now we know that Israel has long been skeptical of striking a deal with Iran, its top global enemy, and has acknowledged carrying out various covert and overt actions over the years to set back Iran's nuclear ambitions. In a statement announcing the strikes and seemingly trying to justify them, the IDF said Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon and has proclaimed that its objective is to destroy the state of Israel. Israel also stated Iran's support for militant groups in the region, which includes Hamas and Iran's ballistic missile attacks on Israel last year. So this is all while Iran has expressed it has no interest in having nuclear weapon, and that any nuclear enrichment is for its domestic national capabilities only. I'm going to bring up on screen the footage of the strike again.
ساعت 3:37 ورودی فرحزاده پایین یه ساختمان مسکونی زده شده.
You can see in this video that this was a very targeted attack, unlike the attacks in Gaza that were completely not targeted at all. It is interesting to see that they have this capability to give those targeted attacks when Gaza was just a playing field for nuclear bombs. It was like a testing field, unfortunately.
ساعت الان 3:37 ورودی فرحزاده پایین یه ساختمان مسکونی زده شده.
So just now is another update. Israel's Air Force has now conducted 5 waves of strikes across Iran since beginning its operation before dawn on Friday. This was said by an Israeli military official. He briefed reporters on condition of anonymity and accordance with military protocol. When Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Thursday evening that Israel had struck Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz, he was signaling the scope of his country's ambitions in the largest strike it has ever aimed at Iran. It wants to destroy the beating heart of the Iranian nuclear program. Now, more information on the Natanz facility. This is where Iran has produced the vast majority of its nuclear fuel. There's no reports yet of whether Iran's other major enrichment site, called Fordo, was targeted as well. It is much harder. It is a much harder target, buried deep under a mountain, deliberately designed to be out of Israel's reach. So we have to see how that develops and how far Israel will go in its current attack on Iran, which we're expecting will be ongoing. We're going to check and see if there's an update to the death toll as well, um, while we wait for other updates. So just gonna give those who just joined a recap of the details. We're covering the Israeli attack on Iran, which took place just a few hours ago. There were dozens of airstrikes, and they started early Friday morning, Iranian local time. And Israel called this a preemptive strike on Iran's nuclear program. They're accusing Tehran of running a secret program to build a nuclear bomb. Netanyahu had said in a statement moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. The operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. And then we saw footage of the burning residential buildings and multiple complexes in Tehran. And blasts were heard in the capital around 3 a.m. local time, and several other cities were also targeted, shown here on this map. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in a statement read on state television that Israel should anticipate a harsh punishment. The strong hand of the Islamic Republic will not let them go. On the U.S. side, American leadership is saying that the U.S. was not involved in Israel's strikes and that it was a unilateral action, as the Secretary of State Marco Rubio had said. A new update just came in. The Iranian Foreign Ministry says that the Zionist regime's aggressive actions against Iran could not have been carried out without the coordination and permission of the U.S. So this clearly contradicts the U.S. statement. And this is all while the U.S. is still trying to show it has not been involved whatsoever. So we have to really just wait and see what comes out of the White House tomorrow. And as we know, President Trump will be having a meeting to discuss what to present to the public. So Secretary Rubio just said Israel took unilateral action against Iran. They clearly stated that they're not involved in the strikes, and I quote, "We are not involved in the strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believed that the action was necessary for its self-defense." Rubio also added Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. The U.S. is playing it safe, but Iran Foreign Ministry said that the Zionist regime's aggressive actions against Iran could not have been carried out without the coordination and permission of the U.S. So this is a very critical turning point for the U.S., as it could potentially be pulled into a war because of Israel, its greatest ally. And this is a very big fear. Naturally, this is something Americans should be worried about, because this is coming at a time where there's the US-backed war in Gaza. So, you know, we've seen the protests, we've seen the uproar, we've seen the death toll that came out of Gaza. And we now also have an unprecedented period of Americans standing against their government's complicity in what's going on. In a historic move, we are also seeing the March to Gaza, which is seeing a significant number of Americans and Europeans join. Just to give a quick recap, right now, this is a critical turning point for the US. It could be pulled into a war because of Israel, which we clearly know is its greatest ally. Americans should be very worried about this as well because of the ongoing US-backed war in Gaza. We have seen unprecedented periods of Americans standing up against their government's complicity in what's going on. In a historic move, we're also seeing the March to Gaza, which is seeing a significant numbers of Americans and Europeans join. This is a testament to how American public opinion is also greatly changing with regards to how they see their government complicit in other nations' suffering. Now, given these latest updates, it remains to be seen whether Americans will support their government getting involved in yet another potential war with Iran. So, the Iranian Foreign Ministry said the Zionist regime's aggressive actions against Iran could not have been carried out without the coordination and permission of the US. Amid Israel's attack on Iran on Friday morning, the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, issued a message addressing the Iranian people, stating, "To the great nation of Iran, this morning the Zionist regime stained its filthy and bloody-soaked hands with a crime on our soil, revealing its vile nature more clearly than ever by targeting residential areas. The regime must now await a severe punishment. By God's will, the powerful hand of the Islamic Republic's armed forces will not let it go unanswered. In the enemy's attack, a number of commanders and scientists were martyred. Their successors and colleagues will immediately carry out their duties, God willing. With this crime, the Zionist regime has prepared a bitter and painful fate for itself, and it will surely face it." And this was, again, the statement by the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei. Donald Trump has said, "We are awaiting the Iranian response and will defend Israel if necessary." So, what does this mean for the Americans? If Trump is backing Israel, as usual, what does it mean for, the US right now, getting into a war with Iran? So let's also discuss briefly how the Americans view this issue. In a poll in 2022, which is the latest poll in the United States from before President Biden, President Biden had said that the JCPOA is dead, showed that although Americans view the prospect of a nuclear Iran as deeply alarming, only 12% had supported war with Iran, which is a very interesting statistic. And then from 2022 until now, Americans have shown less and less support for other wars, including in Ukraine and the US-backed war in Gaza. So if we look at these stats, those stats are likely even less now given the past several years of ongoing war. And as US representatives continue to stand up to say, we don't want our tax dollars going to fund all these wars. And thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight to go through and discuss and get updates on everything that is going on. Again, please bear with us if we do pause. We are just getting the latest updates for you as they come. So the latest update is the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned the military escalation by Israel in the Middle East. In a statement through his spokesperson, Guterres said that he was concerned by Israel's action while talks between Iran and the United States on the status of Iran's nuclear program are underway. The International Atomic Energy Agency confirmed Friday that an Israeli strike hit Iran's uranium enrichment facility at Natanz. In a statement on the social platform X, the IAEA's head, Rafael Mariano Grossi, was quoted as saying, The IAEA is closely monitoring the deeply concerning situation in Iran. The agency is in contact with Iranian authorities regarding radiation levels. We are also in contact with our inspectors in the country. To anyone just joining, we are covering the Israeli attack on Iran, which took place just a few hours ago. Iranian state television has put a black band over the corner of its broadcast, which is what usually happens to signal public mourning. The dozens of airstrikes that started early Friday morning, local time of Iran, were called by Israel, were labeled as preemptive strikes on Iran's nuclear program. So there's a lot of frustration from U.S. Citizens on what's going on around the world. Latest update is Netanyahu also issued a statement suggesting more attacks would be coming, saying we are going to have many more achievements. We're going to take a quick pause and then be back with more updates. Okay, we're back with more updates. A spokesperson for Iran's armed forces has promised a heavy response to Israel's attack is to come. The comments by General Abdel Fazl Shikarchi and were reported by state-run media IRNA. I'm going to go through a couple of the comments here in the live on screen. This is it's very worth reading and seeing what people are saying. The world is uniting against Israel, just taking way too long. Totally ashamed of Trump. Iran's only weapon against Israel is a nuclear weapon, and I think not developing one was the biggest mistake Iran made, and now will face the consequences. And this is a statement and sentiment that many do hold. God have mercy on the innocents of this world and the martyrs. The Americans elected Trump because he said he would prevent wars. Netanyahu is desperate and needs wars to stay in power. I can talk to 100 Americans a day, even if 100% are anti-Israel. 100% have also taken no action for anything, locally nor globally. This is the reality. So who really knows what will happen at this point? We really don't know because everything is just up in the air. I want to take a look at the fact that they targeted civilian areas. This is something that has to be really emphasized. If we take a look I'm just going through and gathering the thoughts as we speak. Several cities across Iran have been targeted, and targets were mainly important military, nuclear science figures, and nuclear sites. The areas that were targeted were West Tehran, East Tehran, Mehrabad, Mahalati, Shahid Shamran, Tower in Kamrani, Sadat Abad, Orchid Complex in Satar Khan, Shahid, um, Daryari settlement in Tehran, Farhazadi, Tehran, um, the Arakavi water facility. These are just a couple, to name a few. And the US has very clearly been trying to deflect blame while fully engaging in the planning. So it's interesting to see how Marco Rubio said that they have nothing to do with it, but then Trump came on to say, we'll fully back Israel with anything they need. I also think, if we take a look at the Ukrainian attack on Russia, it was a Mossad operation that took place ahead of this because Russia has a defense pact with Iran. Iranian media also reports that Ali Shamkhani, advisor to the Iranian supreme leader, was injured in the Israeli attack and transferred to the hospital in critical condition. And the assassinations of the top Iranian nuclear scientists, Mohammad Mehdi Tehranchi and Fareydun Abbasi, by Israel were confirmed by Iran. In addition, Major General Ghulam Ali Rashid, commander of the central headquarters of the Iranian armed forces, had also been assassinated in the Israeli strikes. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said that the Zionist entity and its supporters bear the consequences of this aggression against our country. And now Amir Habibullah Sayari has been appointed as the interim commander of the general staff of Iran's armed forces by order of the supreme leader of the revolution. So things are escalating very quickly. So, Saeed Mohammad Marandi, previous member of Iran's nuclear negotiation team, has said on X that the US is using its bases in Qatar, the UAE, Bahrain, Turkey, Iraq, and Kuwait to assist Zionist attacks and to prepare for the defense of the regime. Said Mohammad Marandi also said that a major response is coming soon. There are many waves being prepared. War may swiftly spread to the Persian Gulf, too. It's time to swiftly leave those countries that host US bases. So, Hebrew sources are reporting that the Israeli officials, like Netanyahu and his Israeli ministers, are hiding in fortified location. They've been moved to a secure location following an assassination attempt targeting the Iranian officials. Um, but isn't that always the case? They kind of put their attack out there and then they hide. Right after the attack happened, they called uh, right away. They called a statewide um, hiding for everyone to be protected in Israel. So while the masses bear the brunt of everything, they go into their bunkers and they hide, and everyone else is stuck facing the consequences of their actions. So it's interesting to see how the Zionist regime has no regard for anyone at all. We know this, but it is interesting to watch it play out in this way. And people are wondering how long it will take Iran to respond. Um, it is an interesting uh, question because the way that Iran responds is going to decide what's going to happen next. I'm going to pull up some footage on screen. So this is the Jerusalem occupied Palestine skyline. Okay, we have some updates. So Trump says that he was aware of Israel's plan, but U.S. was not involved. President Donald Trump just spoke about the Israeli strikes on Fox News and appeared to distance himself from the strikes. Uh, Mr. Trump had said that he was aware of Israel's plans to strike, but said his country was in no way involved in it. He hoped that the U.S. negotiation on nuclear deal would continue. Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and we are hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We will see. We also just saw Iran's Revolutionary Guard has confirmed the death of Hossein Salami, one of the most powerful and influential military commanders of the country. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said on Friday that, without a doubt, Major General Salami was one of the most distinguished commanders of the Islamic Revolution, present on all fronts of scientific, cultural, security, and military jihad. In all arenas, he stood at the front lines with a spirit of sincerity, wisdom, and devotion to the supreme leader, defending the ideals of the revolution and the Iranian people. So going back, just to recap, there were blasts that were heard in the capital Tehran around 3 a.m. local time, and other cities were also targeted, including Isfahan, Arak, Kermanshah, and Tabriz, near a nuclear research center and two military bases. In Natanz, Israel struck Iran's main enrichment facility. Iranian state TV had officially reported that Israel has struck the Revolutionary Guards headquarters in Tehran, killing the commander Hossein Salami. Several other high ranking officials were also killed, including General Ghulam Ali Rashid and who's the deputy commander of the Iranian Armed Forces, Mohammad Mehdi Tehranji, an Iranian physicist, and Feraydun Abbasi, an Iranian nuclear scientist. um, Apologies, our sound had cut out earlier while we were giving the recap. So Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in a statement read on state television that Israel should anticipate a harsh punishment, and the strong hand of the Islamic Republic will not let them go. Now, if we look at the U.S. side, we're seeing that the American leadership doesn't want anything to do with it. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that it was a unilateral action and that the U.S. was not involved in Israel's strikes. We're going to see what's going to happen as America was in the middle of the nuclear talks and nuclear negotiations with Iran. And the next round, the sixth, was set to take place in Oman this upcoming Sunday. But what we know is that the U.S. will not go against Israel's wishes. And Trump also tweeted out and said that whatever happens, he will back Israel. And we know that the U.S. had previously helped defend Israel from Iranian attacks. And of course, it's likely to do so again when Iran responds. Now, Iran's foreign ministry said that Tehran has a legal and legitimate right to respond to Israeli attacks under the UN Charter. The ministry said in a statement that the Zionist regime's aggressive actions against Iran cannot have been carried out without the coordination and authorization of the United States. Israel has said that it targeted Iran's nuclear facilities, ballistic missile factories, and military commanders on Friday, at the start of what it warned would be a prolonged operation to prevent Tehran from building an atomic weapon. Iranian media and witnesses reported explosions, including at the country's main uranium enrichment facility in Natanz, while Israel declared a state of emergency in anticipation of retaliatory missile and drone strikes. We're still waiting to see when and how Iran will respond, and we know from previous instances that Iran will respond. And Iranian TV is saying that within the next few hours, Israel will witness Iranian fire. So it does seem that Iran will be responding very quickly. Jordan has also said that it will not tolerate any violation of its airspace, insisting that the kingdom will not be a battleground for any conflict. Hours after Israel struck nuclear and military targets in Iran. The country's national security is a red line, and it will not allow any attempt to threaten its security and the safety of its citizens, government spokesperson Mohammad Momani said in a statement reported by Petra, the state news agency. But he did not specify any further details. All right. So there is reportedly news coming in of Iran's retaliation. Things now can happen at any moment, and we are just waiting for confirmation. Again, there is reportedly news coming in of Iran's retaliation. So we're just waiting for that confirmation, and things can happen at any moment right now. Very scary times indeed. So Iran's former national security chief Ali Shamkhani has been killed in Israel's strikes on Iran, according to Iranian state media. The assassination of um, so the assassination um, of Ali Shamkhani was also confirmed. This was stated by Iranian state news network IRINN. And Shamkhani was a key advisor to Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei and served as secretary of the nation's National Security Council for almost a decade. Now, countries around the world are reacting to Israel's strike on Iran, with several voicing alarm and others criticizing the move. Saudi Arabia's foreign ministry expressed its strong condemnation and denunciation, saying that the blatant Israeli aggression undermines Iran's sovereignty and security and constitute a clear violation of international laws and norms. China's embassy in Iran called the situation in Iran severe and complex, urging Chinese citizens in the country to closely monitor developments and step up their own security precautions, including avoiding sensitive or crowded areas. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had also said that the U.S. was not involved in Israel's strikes, adding in a statement that our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Australia's foreign minister Penny Wong said that Canberra was alarmed by the escalation between Israel and Iran. She urged all parties to prioritize dialogue and diplomacy, saying this risks further destabilizing a region that is already volatile. And another update from nearby countries, Jordan has said it will not tolerate any violation of its airspace, insisting that the kingdom will not be a battleground for any conflict. So the country's national security is a red line, but he did not specify any further details. So Iran has just launched more than 100 drones toward Israeli territory. Israel's military said. Um, All aerial defense arrays have been operating to intercept the threats. This is IDF spokesperson Afi Defrin saying this. This is a different event to what we've experienced thus far, and we're expecting difficult hours. We should show resilience and patience. Again, this is the IDF spokesperson that was talking. We also have an update that the US will very likely fight a three-front war against Russia, China, and Iran. This is Alex Karp from Palantir talking. So it seems that Iran's response is just now starting with the launch of more than 100 drones towards Israeli territory. So, according to the Times of Israel, as we had just said, it seems that Iran's response is just starting. And the Times of Israel just released a headline, an article saying over 100 drones launched by Iran at Israel in the last few hours. The IDF is working to shoot them down. So, the drones launched from Iran will take several hours to reach Israel. We are giving you updates as they come. So we're just waiting for confirmations. If we do take some time, we want to be sure that everything we're um, discussing is confirmed. So this is the headline that we had just mentioned. Over 100 drones launched by Iran at Israel in the last few hours. IDF working to shoot them down. This is the beginning of Iran's response to Israel. And it's very important to note that after listening to Trump's statements, Trump knew about the attacks, but he didn't do anything to stop them. This is actually insane because this was all happening while in the process of negotiating. So, was it all a front? Is the question that we have to ask. Trump seems to have known Israel's plans to the dot. He fully supports and will back Israel, but the US will not own up to the knowledge of, knowing that this is going to happen and approving um, these attacks. So U.S. President Donald Trump said that he was aware of Israel's actions, and he added that Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and we hope to get back to the negotiating table. So it's interesting. Like we said earlier, it's very interesting because it makes you ask the question of, was this all a front to come back to the negotiating table and stop the nuclear bombs? Something I think is important to emphasize is that the US is obsessed with Iran's nuclear program. While the US is the only country to have ever used a nuclear bomb against a civilian population. And while Israel already possesses nuclear bombs. So the nuclear program seems to just be an excuse to put pressure on Iran. Their real problem is Iran's stance against imperialism. So we'll have to wait and see. The drones that were sent out by Iran are reported to take several hours to actually get there into the skies over Israel. It seems the IDF is getting ready, as we saw here, to, and I quote, shoot them down. So we're going to have to. It's just a waiting game right now to see what's going to happen. See if the talks are going to happen on Sunday. See if this is just the beginning of Iran's um, response, or if it will further escalate, or if this will de-escalate the situation. Um, so we're coming to the end of our live stream, but as we monitor the situation closely, we're just going to summarize what we already know and what we've already discussed for everyone. And thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight and for staying with us through this live to go over and understand what is happening and monitor the events as they unfold. So, as I said, we are coming to the conclusion of our live stream. And as we continue to monitor this situation closely, we will update all of the uh, news and our breaking news as they come. So, you can always check on any of our platforms on Instagram, on X, on WhatsApp, Telegram. Um, we will have all of our most recent updates that are happening all posted there. So make sure to follow at TMJ News Network. Um, just to summarize what we already know, Israel's strike on Iran Friday morning local Iran time, has left several civilians and top-ranking military officials dead. Now, the US had said it was not involved in the attack, but President Trump, as we saw, had said that he was fully aware it was going to happen. The latest update is that Iran has now launched over 100 drones toward Israel as it officially begins its retaliation. The drones will take several hours to reach Israel, and we are likely to see more coming from Iran's side as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight on this live stream. Please stay tuned as TMJ continues to post live updates on the situation on our social media channels. Follow us at TMJ News Network. Thank you for joining us on this live coverage and stay updated across our platforms for all the latest developments.